Having a suicide victim in your family can increase your risk for committing suicide yourself 11 times. Serotonin is a chemical within the brain it's a neurotransmitter, and what it does is it regulates the activation of the serotonin system. It sends signals around the brain to critical regions that regulate mood and appetite, libido, etc. And the gene expression, or the activity of genes within the serotonin system, is known to be altered in many psychiatric disorders, but particularly in mood disorders, which include bipolar disorder and major depression. And those people are more susceptible to suicide. The protein of interest right now for us is the serotonin 2C receptor protein. So this protein is activated by serotonin in critical regions of the brain, and it's been linked to anxiety, and anxiety and stress can precipitate suicidality. So what we're doing is we're investigating the gene expression of the serotonin 2C receptor, and therefore there could be dysregulation of serotonin 2C activity at the level of DNA, perhaps at RNA, which is just one stage down, or in the protein itself, or all three levels could be altered. We're currently funded by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to investigate RNA editing of the serotonin 2C receptor protein. And this is a process which can be activated by stress, and it means that another protein called ADAR comes along and it attaches to the RNA that produces serotonin 2C, and it creates changes in that RNA, and that effectively switches off serotonin 2C, and therefore it's less active, the serotonin signals are less prevalent in the brain, and it could create suicidality. The mechanisms, of course, will lead to new drug targets. That's a major aim. When we unravel those mechanisms, then the pharmaceutical industry and other drug design entities will be, that they monitor what we do in university, and they will be able to test new compounds for efficacy or effect in patients that have mood disorders or who may be likely to commit suicide. Another utility for this research is that we could potentially have markers for suicide in patients. So down the road, when the markers are validated and we know that in a large number of patients we have a high certainty of predicting suicide through genetic variation, for example, then there may be a possibility that we could have a blood test or even DNA extracted from saliva could be used to identify whether someone has a genetic variation that predicts their risk for suicide. And that is currently the case for diseases like Alzheimer's disease or breast cancer. There are genetic tests that would predict how high your risk is for those diseases.